DonInLondon, hello. February the 20th, 2009. My video is all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. My substance, alcohol, my behaviour, trying to be perfect, never so. Working hard for 35 years and never quite knowing whether I was in the right job or the wrong job. Never even thought about it. Felt if I was pleasing other people I was probably doing okay. In the end though, I realised that I was probably doing things because it looked good, felt the right thing to be doing, and might not have been the right thing for me, and that applied to my drinking, and I became drink dependent and alcoholic. So what does an alcoholic do? Either they keep on drinking or they stop. If we keep on drinking, the inevitable will happen, that we lose control and we die early, simply because there is no other path. So addiction is one of the hardest things to deal with. We don't overcome it and end it. We stay in recovery a day at a time. That's what I've learned. And what helps me most is the fellowship of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. I don't speak for it, but I do speak for myself and what it does for me. And at every meeting there is the preamble, and I'll share that now. AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution. It does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. The primary purpose, or our primary purpose, is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And that doesn't mean that it's any particular type of alcoholic who can then achieve sobriety. It's anyone and everyone who may have the malady and desire sobriety one day only. So it's a one-day program, only lasts 24 hours. And then we can be forgetting again. And as we forget what is good for us, we can go back to old ways to fix. And what I've learned over the last few years is that my best thinking and intellect kept me drinking, and my best feelings and being a part of a fellowship keeps me sober one day. So my thinking got me into alcoholism because I felt I had the self-will to overcome it, and willpower failed me over and over again. But before that I had to find out that I was in denial or just ignorant of my illness, and that took an awful long time. And my father was an alcoholic, and we never really thought about him as being one. And it's only in hindsight that somebody drinking 2 bottles of spirits a day, possibly, for 45 years did have a problem with drink. Anyway, where am I today? How am I feeling? I'm feeling okay. I've been helping people. And I've also been to a good meeting of the fellowship last night. It's called the STEP meeting, and there are 12 steps of action in the action programme for individuals within the fellowship. And it's how people choose to utilise these 12 steps of action in their living experience and their experience of life. They only work if we have experience of living. So the whole programme is geared to being part of society, family, civilization, in whatever order is appropriate. And I use literature, like the daily reflections, to give me a bit of a sharper focus on a daily basis. And today it says, page 59, February the 20th, the gift of laughter. At this juncture, his AA sponsor usually laughs. 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, page 26. And this is all about step 2, coming to believe a higher power can restore us to sanity. And more on what a higher power might be in a moment. Before my recovery from alcoholism began, laughter was one of the most painful sounds I knew. I never laughed, and I felt that anyone else's laughter was directed at me. My self-pity and anger denied me the simplest pleasures of lightness of heart. By the end of my drinking, not even alcohol could provoke a drunken giggle in me. When my AA sponsor began to laugh and point out my self-pity and my ego-feeding deceptions, I was annoyed and hurt, but it taught me to lighten up and focus on my recovery. I soon learned to laugh at myself, and eventually I taught those I sponsor to laugh also. Every day I ask God to help me stop taking myself too seriously, and that is so true. We who have a malady and we're trying to keep in recovery, we always come sometimes from a place of feeling less than others, and that leads to paranoia, fear of not being good enough, and all of those horrible things that any normal human person can get on a daily basis when they feel they don't measure up to some sort of standard that is described out there in the media or whatever. And it's easy to fall into these traps, if you like, of spiralling downward in our thinking, so that we actually cannot make use of or utilise our best parts of the day. So if we're always looking over our shoulder to be frowned upon, we will always look back at our history. But if we actually stay in the present moment of now and say, how am I feeling today and why and what can I do, we have a better chance. So how am I feeling today? More level-headed and accepting my situation. I'm having to deal with recovery, not only from alcoholism, but the impact of living longer. And the impact of living longer means I now have type 1 diabetes out of the blue, and I wanted to blame myself for it, but I couldn't. And also properly diagnosed with clinical depression. So I have those two things going on, as well as being in recovery. And the gift is recovery makes it possible to help myself and get the help and support I need to deal with the other two conditions. And I'm in regime change, which means that there is no medication I can use at the moment, because there was a contraindicated set of medications being used for a whole raft of things which are complications to do with the diabetes. So now I know I've had to stop it, or stop them, and life is rough, so my emotional stability is up and down, and it's not something I can control, so I'm powerless over it. And I'm learning on a daily basis that powerless means I best get support or I fall down and I have nothing to lean on. So just the gentle gift of being and understanding what my situation is today really does help me. And in As Bill Sees It, another one-pager per day, this one, co-founder. Let's get to the right page for today. Where are we? Yes, not allied with any sect. Here we go. And it's part of the understanding of what AA is. Whilst AA has restored thousands of poor Christians to their churches and has made believers out of atheists and agnostics, or people like me who just don't have a clue right now, just happy not to have a clue but make the day work, and has made believers, AAs out of the... Start again. It has also made good AAs out of those belonging to the Buddhist, Islamic and Jewish faiths. For example, we question very much whether our Buddhist members in Japan would ever have joined this society had AA officially stamped itself a strictly Christian movement. You can easily convince yourself of this by imagining that AA started among the Buddhists and that they then told you you couldn't join them unless you became a Buddhist too. If you were a Christian alcoholic under these circumstances, you might well turn your face to the wall and die. And that's what happens so often. We get bamboozled by thinking we ought to be this, we ought to be that, when in fact the absolutely true nature of a higher power coming to restore us to sanity is whatever that higher power happens to be. And it's a personal belief and understanding. And it could be that the higher power is AA or society or God, the God of your understanding, not my understanding. And, you know, the God of anybody's understanding, there are 6.5 billion people on the planet. That's the gift. And each understands God or not God as they choose to. It's personal choice. And for me, a higher power is to truth. So for me, as Gandhi said, God is truth, God is love. And God works through people. And that's a very practical, nuts and bolts approach for me. It may not suit anybody else in the world, but it's all I know, that I will get help and support. And the higher power is having the good conscience to say, I don't know the answers, and I need help and support. So those things are paramount to me. And it's also paramount if I want to be restored to sanity on a daily basis, especially when I'm in an emotional wreck, if you like, where my moods go up and down because my endocrine system is compromised, and all the little pituitary, the thyroid, the hypothalamus, all of those glands in the head which make life work for people and make us make sense of who we are, all those are up and down as they can be with a chemical imbalance. So I'm learning gently that I need help and support, and I get the most help from those in the fellowship who keep me sane so that I can then, or whatever sanity is, so I can keep on going and go through this regime change, which is very, very difficult and very, very painful, not only emotionally but physically too. So, as I say, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, simply one day today.